Hello and welcome to Across the Pond WNBA. Myself and Michelle are back. Michelle, it's great to see you. I feel like it's been a while.
It has, but hey, we're back and we're going to have a legendary show this week. A lot of great things to talk about.
Yes, there are a lot of great things to talk about. However, we are recording this right after the Aces Liberty game here on Sunday, and this didn't really go our way. 99 to the Liberty, 61 to the Aces. This is a massive defeat. Now, it really came in the second half. The Liberty scored 50 points to 17. That
hmm
is that that's massive. That's like we played no defense or offense.
It's unacceptable. That's ridiculous. To be completely for an Aces team that has been dominating all year. I love them. You know, that's my go to team, but you can't make excuses. At the end of the day, for whatever reason, they took their foot off the gas. And the New York Liberty came and said, we might be young, but we told you we were going to be around. So they just made this entire season more interesting, especially with a win that dominant. It's going to be a fun season to watch. At the same time, I'm looking at the Aces like, yo, you got to put your foot back on the gas. Can't let up. To lose it in the second half says that you just didn't come out of the locker room ready to play. We don't know if something happened in the locker room. We don't know what's going on. It could be, and there could be things that we just don't know about that contributed to it. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. But when you got a coach like Becky Hammond, I will put everything I own that they come out and kill the next team they play.
Yeah, we should kind of say like we're recording this right after the game, so anything that's coming out as we're recording, we're not going to know. So it is a tough loss, and we have another tough team this week as well. We have the Dallas Wings coming up this week, and they've already beaten us this season.
Yeah.
Like we've lost now to the Sun, to the Wings, and now to the Liberty. So that this loss is tough, especially because we play this team a week on Tuesday in the Commissioner's Cup. That's
Okay.
going to be there has to be a bounce back from that.
Would you want to be the Dallas Wings this week? Because if you're going to take a loss and you take it to the New York Liberty, who everyone has said from the jump of this season is primed to smoke you for the championship game, I think having a loss that devastating should do nothing more than ignite that locker room. And if it doesn't, then we know that there are serious problems in that locker room, something that they can't overcome that is more than just a mental lapse. So it'll be very interesting to see because you heard Becky Hammond, I saw online where she said, I'm not going to coach this kind of crap. So she's already on them, took them out with 5 minutes to go, wouldn't even let them back on the court. She's in their butts all week. If they do not come out and dominate against the Dallas Wings, we know that there are problems in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean we'll talk about the Aces a little bit later on in the show, but just wanted to get that that one out of the way. Some good news. Diana Taurasi, who it just feels like she's made to break records. Hit a three-pointer during the third quarter of the game against the Atlanta Dream and scored her 10,000th point. She's actually on 10,024, I think now. But she breached that gap of 10,000, first player to do it. And like the celebrations and everything, obviously they do this thing where they stop the game and like
Yeah.
it was amazing. And, she's had a long career.
Yes.
And to see her now achieve that. Now we've seen Kobe obviously beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, his record this year, and now see Diana Taurasi do it for the WNBA and hit 10,000. Like, what else can you say? Like, she has done so much in her career. She has nothing else to do.
She's been amazing since the very first day that everyone heard her name. She's always shown up. She's played hard. And if you watch that game where she scored and broke the record, just watching how she was coming off and shooting from the three, the shots she was making, it's what we've seen from her from day one. She's unstoppable. When Diana Taurasi decides to do whatever it is she wants to do, doesn't matter who you put in front of her. She's one of those rare players that has always been a phenomenal athlete and fun for every fan to watch, whether you're for her team or not. She's just an amazing talent. I'm really happy for her. I'm glad they stopped the game and they celebrated because it was something that deserved that type of acknowledgement. And I really want to see, where does she stop? Because we know this might be her final season, but I really want to see where that number stops, how hard she pushes it, and then who's next.
So I think she did promise that she'd be at the Olympics next year. So I think
Hmm.
we get another season a minimum out of her. However, I do remember her saying a while back that, she takes only one season contracts and she
Yeah,
decides at the end of that season whether she's going to continue or not. So she kind of does a self evaluation of, how her body feels because, like, it does take a toll because she is one of these players that for a long time played overseas as well. So there is. We might just see it for 6 months in the W, but there's the whole other 6 months of the year that she is working. So now, here's a question though: who else now do we see these young bucks that are coming through? Who is there right now in the W that you could see hitting 10,000?
I would give it a couple of people. Um, a lot of factors will play into this. I will say Diana Taurasi coming from a championship team in college, being a champion in the pros, she has a lot more leeway on her teams to demand the ball. Some of the younger players that are in a similar position, Jewel Lloyd is one that I would look at. But the other one, the ace that I think that could pull this off is Dewana Bonner, another unstoppable player. You can't match up with her on the perimeter. So you can't up with her in the post. She's has an all around phenomenal game, and she's known for putting up 40. I think she's put up 40 or something the other night too. She's one of those players that could really break this, and she's on the right team to do so. And now, because you think JJ's gone as well from Connecticut, so she has free will to kind of run that team and run the score up.
So one player that I've thought about, and I've thought about this in terms of how the game has evolved since
Hmm.
Diana obviously took the floor way back when, and one player that springs to mind is Sabrina Ionescu because she is of the 3-point generation, and I think that she is, and we've seen it at the 3-point contest at the All Star weekend. She can
That
hit
does
threes.
not count. That does not count. There was no defense.
No,
It was
no,
amazing.
obviously,
Don't get me wrong. It was amazing. I got to see you do that with defense, though.
yeah, but she's doing it. She's hitting like 60% this
She
season, I think.
is.
So,
Will she get
so,
to 1,000?
but I think if she and I mean, you mentioned factors, and there are contributing factors like what team you're on, can you stay healthy? Like, there's a lot that goes in. But I think if you're looking at a perfect world, I think Sabrina Ionescu, and I'm gonna go with Elia Boston
I'm going to
for the
ask you.
Fever.
I agree with you on that one. She's one that I thought about as well. She just, I need to see her play longer. I
Yeah.
got to go back to Sabrina for a second, though, because I want
Oh,
to, only because I want to understand, like, look at who's on her team, though. The MVP, JJ, who's playing like the MVP again, Brianna Stewart, Courtney Vanders. The only reason I did not put her on there is, to me, it would like putting someone on the aces outside of Asia Wilson on their list, just because there's so much talent across the board. That's why I said, does she get to 10,000? Because she's good enough. I just wonder if there are enough balls on that team for her to get there.
I think there is. I think the veterans that have come into the Liberty have respected the fact that Sabrina was already there. Sabrina was drafted there, and Sabrina is the New York Liberty. I mean, she's the face of the franchise, and I think Brianna Stewart, I think Janko Jones,
Yeah.
Courtney Vandersloot, I think all these players have come in and like, yeah, this is your team. We're here to support you. And I mean, she put up 31 tonight against the Liberty,
She did.
and that is no, well, normally is not an easy thing to do.
No. All right. We're gonna put some what do we do? Our fried Oreos on this.
Fried Oreos.
But
Yeah,
I
we
will
should.
say Aaliyah Boston is another great pick. I think I just want to see how she kind of finishes out the season and adjust to the WNBA, which she's done a phenomenal job with. No, absolutely no. I think also it's just the team that she's on that I worry about. But I
There
think
is
she's
that.
amazing talent.
She is. I mean, she's an all-star as well. Like,
Yes.
to make your all-star in your rookie season. But I think it's her movement inside. Like, I think her movement inside is phenomenal.
Mhm.
And I think even good, strong defenders struggle. And I think this is why Indiana, they don't have an amazing record, but I think this is why they have a decent record this
Yes.
year, because I think everyone was still expecting them to be kind of bottom of the pile. But
Yes.
I think because of her and other factors as well, and I think the coaching on that team has been a lot better this year. I have to shout out that because yeah, they don't give up. Like, they play to the final whistle or the final horn or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, we get to third quarter, we're getting beat by 20. Oh, to hell with this. It's more, right, come on, guys, we're getting beat by 20. Let's get back on the floor and let's like do something about that. So I do think been a mentality change in Indiana, and that has helped. And then it helps Boston as well because of her sheer will just to get to the basket.
Fair. This is gonna be fun to watch. We got some good people to look at the end of the day.
We do. Now, although we were talking about Diana Taurasi and hit 10,000, and this is amazing, there has been some issues in Phoenix this season,
Yeah.
and I think they're well documented. We were all so happy to have Brittany Griner back in
Yes.
Phoenix. People don't seem to be too happy about having the potential of Skylar Diggins-Smith coming back to Phoenix. However, um, it's been reported that she's not been allowed to use team facilities, a whole array of other things. And then I think now, for some people, this is going to sound petty, but it was her birthday. And usually, what will happen, whatever team you're on, they'll put out a wee post, "Oh, happy birthday," blah blah
Yeah.
blah. She didn't even get so much as a mention. And for a player of her caliber who has put so much in, there was one tweet that she put out that kind of says, "Oh, I'll just have to play the villain again," and I kind of feel bad for her because I've never really seen her as the villain. I've seen her as, you know, teammates. You know,
Yes.
sometimes rub up against each other and they rub each other the wrong way, and it's going to happen. But like, she is due to be back, and like, there's a new coach now as well. I just, I I mean, we're going to talk about the trade deadline later on. That could be a real possibility. That I don't know if she can be traded during her convalescence. I don't know if that can be done. So it's a
Mhm.
it's a horrible situation, and to feel out of the team and out of the organization. I mean, we've talked about it last year when there's players been injured or anything else. They've been at the arena. They've been supporting their team regardless. But it just feels like Skylar just does not feel part of the Mercury organization at all.
I agree with what you're saying. And there are several ways that I've kind of looked at it from a player. I go, what in the world do you do to get iced like that by a team? At the same time, villain or not, she's, a younger up and coming player. She's proven herself. She shows up and she plays hard and plays well. Are there issues on the court? We've seen them right in the middle of games. So, one, they're adults. Squash that crap. You don't show that on national television. I don't care who it is, and I don't care who the player is. And part of it is the team has to kind of figure out how to get them to keep that from happening in the game. It's a bad look for the WNBA and for the team itself. I also have to look and say, if I'm a player that's an up and coming player that has a chance to go to Phoenix and I'm watching how they're treating her, would you want to go? Because this
No,
here's a player that's actually balling, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that there isn't right or wrong, but at the same time, when you think about it from a business standpoint, how you want to look out to the world. Do you want to do petty things like not wishing someone happy birthday? Do you want to do things like icing them, not allowing them to use the facilities? Coming in as a player that may want to play in Phoenix that could be traded there or drafted there, you're looking at that and you're saying, if they're doing that to Skylar Diggins Smith, what are they going to do to me? How are they going to treat me? And from a business standpoint, I wonder if they've thought about that and how it looks. And at this point, I don't think they really care, obviously. They don't care. But I think there's also just thinking about the longevity of the franchise. Yes, it's a dominant one. Yes, BG's there and you have a lot of selling points. But for players who are coming there again with BG, Diana Taurasi, they have a team that's so stacked right now. You're coming in as a role player. How you treat those role players matters. And right now, globally, is not really looking like an environment that people want to be in. And I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying that is one of the lenses that people and players may be looking through, and at the end of the day, you don't need that type of drama shadowing BG and everything that she's done for that team, Diana and the 10,000 points and all the things that they have going for themselves. They need all the positive media in the world. And maybe it's just time to have an honest sit down. You know, you go in the locker room and just let each other have it. And I'm sure they've already done that, but maybe they need another one or bring in a third party to mediate. But I never want to see a player who, one, is pregnant and already having hormonal imbalances, feeling like Skylar feels. So there's a part of me that empathizes, and there's another part of me that knows there's more to the story.
I think there's definitely more to it. I think there's
Yeah,
obviously things that go on in the background that is
absolutely.
never going to be public.
Yes.
Maybe not until someone writes a memoir or something. But Skylar has been one of my favorite players to watch. Like I love, like I know she's had spats with people on the bench and things,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, but I think it's because like we talk about the aces, like you've got so many um, big personalities there. And I think Skylar's a big personality. I think Diana's a big personality.
Yeah.
Sophie Cunningham is showing that she's a big personality. Like there's so many around there. And then you've got a coach who's trying to
Yeah.
kind of bring it all
Control.
together and calm everyone down.
Yeah.
Um, but Skylar's definitely been one of the players that I love to watch because I love her passion on the floor. Like she is one of those players that will dive after loose balls. She just will go after everything. So it is a shame because she is a very, very talented player. And I hope that when she is ready to come back, which I believe is soon,
Yeah.
that, they do give her, they either trade her and
Yeah.
say, look, this situation just isn't going
Cut,
to work anymore,
cut ties.
or um, everyone kind of just like, she goes in with a fresh start.
Do you really think they're gonna let her back?
No,
I don't either.
no,
The way
I
it's
don't.
playing out and when you're not, it's the little things that are making me go, "They're done with you."
And it's a shame because she's so good. Like, I don't that's why I don't understand. Why would you let someone who's that good just like
That's why we know there's more to the story,
yeah,
but at the same time, keep it professional. Like,
yeah.
don't let, the fans know all of that stuff because you got coaching changes, you got the BG scenario, there's a lot that's been going on in Phoenix.
The
And
last
so
2 years have been mental for Phoenix.
and that's why I came from the lens of seeing it from how the fans will view the organization, how other players who are coming in will view it. And yes, they're going to talk to each other, like players are going to talk to each other and everything, but still, it's just you always want to have that professional front where no one can say anything about you doing little petty things.
Yeah, no, let's hope that finishes and we get
Yeah,
some kind of resolution very soon. We do have a trade deadline coming up on
we do.
Monday. Before we get to the trade deadline, though, we'll go back to the Las Vegas Aces. So they have been winning up until
Mhm,
tonight, anyway. They have been winning, and they've been doing it without Candace Parker,
mhm.
who was playing with a fractured foot
Yes.
for most of the season so far, and then eventually was like, okay, I have to give up on this and have surgery.
Yeah.
I've always been of the opinion that if you're injured, you have to look after you. It's like I remember who was it? Dak Prescott when he was playing for the Cowboys and he broke his ankle and he broke his leg at the same time. Horrific injury. And I was like, that's he's going off, he's having surgery, he's getting rested, and he's gonna be fit for next season. That's brilliant.
Mhm,
But then you had Ezekiel Elliott, who was the running back on that team, who played the entire season injured.
mhm,
And I don't think it helps you, your longevity of your career. Like,
mhm.
I would rather she just had the surgery way back at the beginning of the season and looked after herself, comes back second half of the season, maybe
Yeah.
even a bit later, but in time for playoffs. But now she's out indefinitely, and we're not really expecting her back the rest of the season.
This is a tough one. I mean, that's CP. Candace Parker, great player, great career, absolutely phenomenal person. I think we also have to look at the contracts and what people are doing with these contracts, the bonuses, the clauses that you don't see and don't know about. And this is just my opinion always. When we look at the Adidas commercials and the 2K covers and the things that Candace has going, I guarantee you there are clauses in that contract that are rewarding her for certain things that she's really close to. And we know Candace is at the end of her career as well. Like, it's not like she's hurting the rest of her career. Could this end it? It could. It very well could. So I guess the question we should be asking is what is so important, or what are you reaching for that will make you play on that fractured foot? Is it getting the being the first one to win multiple championships on multiple teams? I think that might be one of them. I think there's probably a very nice bonus for that. And there's the historical element of sealing your legacy. Not that she hasn't already done that, because she has. So my question is, what is worth you doing that?
Yeah, she is a legend already before she
Mhm.
even came into Vegas. So for me, I was kind of yeah, take this surgery at the beginning of the season. You're right though, and I didn't think about that. The 2K covers, the Adidas
Mhm.
CarMax as well. I think she does
Sure.
as well over there. It's all endorsements,
Mhm.
and because players aren't paid, and we go into that conversation again, but aren't paid what they're worth by the WNBA, then they're looking for other avenues of revenue, and sponsorships and all these kind of things come into it. But those sponsorships have contracts and have clauses in them, and if you don't play so many games, you don't score so many points, you don't hit so many rebounds, then
Yeah.
you could be out of money. So she may have got to the point where she'd scored enough points or played enough games, and she's like, right, I'll go and have my surgery now.
Yeah.
Because if she'd had the surgery at the beginning, something goes wrong with that surgery, and she ends up out, like,
Yeah.
and finished her career. Like, those clauses in those contracts never get met, so she doesn't make the money. So I get it. I do get it. And it's unfortunate that the women in the WNBA are faced with that kind of scenario where, they have to pick and choose. And because really, from a fan standpoint, from an organization standpoint, and from a player standpoint, that's probably not how you want to do business. You want to do business and you want to go out and score, you want to win, you want to play for your team, play with your teammates, and be with them the whole season. So it's a kind of a shame that, because of the situation with contracts and salaries, that she has to go and do that, and other players as well. She won't be the only one. There's, I mean, Sabrina's got a big contract with Nike, and I'm trying to think who else has big contracts, but there's loads of players out there that have huge contracts with huge companies. CarMax, I think Sue Bird, obviously she won't have any clauses anymore because she's not playing. But but yeah, it's a bit mental. But the Aces do have another issue. Williams is also out. She's been out all season. However, she's having some more issues off the court that isn't so great. I wasn't aware last season. I remember her missing last season for a while.
Mhm.
Can I just put it down to an injury? I remember her missing and then coming back, and oh yeah, she's back. She must be healthy again. But actually, she was suspended for 10 games, and I don't think that was made public.
That's a great thing that it wasn't made public. She doesn't need any more bad publicity.
Yeah,
But and the team, to keep that under wraps, it also says that they think she's talented. They want her on the team, and they're actually trying to, make sure she's in a good space. I think Courtney's a great person and a great player. Maybe just giving her time to think through, hey, is this what you really want? And if so, give it everything you got. I think that's the message people are trying to say. And they love her game and her personality enough to try to keep that out of the media and protect her.
yeah. I think I think with Raquana as well. Like when
Yeah.
she plays, like she made some big shots in the playoffs last year. Like some big shots. Like
Amazing.
she was that catalyst and that
Yes.
spark off the bench in the playoffs. And that's what I remember. When she didn't start this season, I was like, yeah, I was kind of gutted because I was like, well, again, she's injured, so there's not much you can do about it. But you're gutted because you're seeing a player that ended the season so high last year. You just kind of want them to
Yeah,
jump into this season and go again. But
yeah,
um, obviously, when it comes to domestic abuse, we do have rules within the league. Now, again, we haven't heard anything. She is injured at the moment anyway, so she wouldn't be playing anyway. So I imagine once things are done in the courtroom, then things will happen in the league office. We'll see what
yes.
comes from that, but hopefully things can be resolved um, going forward.
I hope so because this will be a tough blow to not only the league but to her personally, and it will carry and follow her for a very long time to come. So
Yeah.
really hope it works out.
Now, Brittany Griner has taken. She actually just played yesterday, but she'd taken three games off for her mental health. She released a statement today saying that it's okay to take time off, uh,
Yeah,
and I agree. I think we've seen it in pro sports across the board. You know, players and not just in the US, but here in the UK as well, where we've seen players, or athletes take some time away because these seasons are big and they are 1,000 miles an hour, and you're flying to Dallas, you're flying to LA, you don't know what city you're going to next, and I think the baggage that Brittany comes in with this
yeah,
season, having been in Russia all last year, like that baggage as well, then having idiots follow her around airports and shout abuse at her, that kind of thing, that's going to weigh heavy. And
yeah,
I think she's right. Like, I think athletes need to take time for themselves, and sometimes, that's going to have to happen during a season. But what I do like is that she was very complimentary of the Mercury and the fact that what they were like, yeah, if that's what you need, that's what you need.
mhm. I think that's where I was gonna say is the Mercury actually this is where they counteract the the whole
I know.
situation with Skylar, and they have done one of the most phenomenal jobs with dealing with BG in that entire situation. So I think that gives them that leeway with Skylar to kind of be like, whatever, if they're done with her. But with BG, one, I'm glad she decided to take that time because some of the things we've seen happening to her over this season, I have at times looked and been like, how are you pushing through this? And what are you doing to make sure you're sane and okay? You're on planes every other day, you're in practice constantly. And it's kind of like she's been kind of going since she got back. So I'm glad she took the time to say, hey, I just need a minute to make sure I'm good. Let me figure things out for myself. I'm thankful the organization, was right there with her and said, whatever you need, we got you. I think fans, the organization, everyone's been really supportive of her. But I'm also glad that she's putting the issues with mental health on the front line for a lot of people to watch and see. That one, she's handled it very well, but at the same time, it's okay to say, I can't handle it. I just need a minute. So thankful for her doing that, looking forward to that memoir and that book. But also, just I told you the one thing that worried me the most about her being over in Russia for so long was her mental health. And so now we're seeing that play out in real time. And although she's still handling it extremely well, I just really want deep down to know that she's good.
Yeah, I think the fact, because I think originally it was going to be 2 games, and then she took the extra one, and then
Yeah,
she's come back, and by the sounds of it, like there's zero pressure from the league or from the
yeah,
Mercury. And if she needs to take more time, she can take more time.
yeah,
And to be fair, like I think that goes across the board with all of the teams and all of the players. Obviously, there is that pressure that other players will have, as in, I'm a role player, and I need to keep playing because
yeah,
I'm Brittany Griner has done her dues in the league and earned her starting spot, and yeah, she's one of the most dominant centers in the league. And for the Mercury standpoint, like, they want to keep her that way because selfishly, like, they want to win championships in the future. So, oh yeah, it's a small price to pay to give you 3 games off.
right.
If it means that, like, come playoff time, you're good to go. So yeah, I think it's good that they've done it, and I think also it's good that they made it public. Like, she didn't just, because it would be very easy just to say ankle sprain,
And yep, they
and
cover it up.
cover up. So I actually like the fact,
Yep,
we talk about things being public and not being public. I'm glad this is one thing that has been made public because I think it's important. Because I think mental health now plays such a vital role uh,
absolutely,
eh, for athletes, and I think the more people that talk about it, the more the ones that are a bit quieter and don't want to talk about it, the more chance you have got of them coming forward later on.
absolutely.
Now, player spotlight this week. So we're going to move away from Mercury, and our player spotlight this week is Alyssa Thomas. Alyssa Thomas plays for the Connecticut Sun. She is probably one of the most dominant players that they have.
Yeah.
She also has played around Europe. One thing as well, like she's played for the Sun since 2014. Never,
Mhm.
never switched teams. She's always been with the Sun,
Yep.
but she has played around, I think, China and stuff. She's a four-time All-Star, two-time second team. She made the rookie team. She's been a steals reader, all defensive team. I mean, her defense is phenomenal. Also, EuroLeague Defensive Player of the Year just last year, like
Yeah.
just last year. So this is someone who has played a long time
Mhm.
and continues to play at high level. She was at Maryland for 4 years before
Yes.
coming to the WNBA, and has had a long career. 2021 wasn't a great year; only played 3 games, but last year she played 36 games. She had a
Mhm.
phenomenal season, averaging 32 minutes. But one thing that I love, and it's always been my thing, is defense. Now
Yes.
I know she's like she hits big stats, but her defense is so good. She is a two. She's like the epitome of a two-way player.
Yes. She is. I think there's so much about her game that I love, but I think that the one stat that tells you everything about her is since then, since she got drafted in 2014, she's had 9 triple doubles, and most of those were defensive plays. This year alone, there are 5, which means not only is she dominating, she's getting better. That's
Yeah,
scary. Like, to have the majority of those triple doubles are now on a team with the DeWanna Bonner, who is scoring, and so that adds to the element of how dominant she is. When you see her on the court, just her tenacity, her energy, the way she kind of brings the entire team up, she's one of those cornerstone pieces for that team that I think they're going to keep around forever and a day, as long as she. I don't see her taking her foot off the gas at all.
it's one thing Connecticut are good at is, I mean, I know Janquil Jones went to the Liberty this year, but
Yes.
that's really the only big piece that has moved for a long time away from the Sun. The Sun are obviously a good organization. We've always said that there is a bias in that part of the world to the New York Liberty when it comes to the media, which is why we like to highlight the Connecticut Sun. But I really think that with the Sun, they are so dangerous when it comes to the playoffs. And it's because of
Yep.
Alyssa, it's because of Dewana, and like they are two big leaders on that team. And Janko Jones might be looking back over at Connecticut and saying, well, until tonight at least, might be looking back over at Connecticut, but like that's still a good team, and I'm not on it.
Yeah. I think JJ's in a good spot too. I mean, she made a great move when you think about media attention. New York is central. So as the MVP, it allows her, because one of the things I used to say about her all the time is that because she's in Connecticut, she doesn't get the media attention she deserves for what she has brought to this league. Like, to be an MVP, and most fans not know that simply because of where you're playing. I think making the move to New York made sense for her in terms of her career. Are both teams now? You might have a rivalry right there in the Northwest that is going to be absolutely Northeast that is going to be absolutely phenomenal between Connecticut and New York, right there. I think it's a great look. You get to see Alyssa Thomas against JJ. That's going to be fun games to watch for not only the league, but both teams I think are positioned well for the playoffs as well. So it's going to be fun to watch them. And now with that split, I'm just interested in watching and seeing who shows up and shows out. Who says I
Yeah,
own it? I own this part of the map.
Well, I think, when it came to All-Star, there was a few snubs, and
Yes.
Connecticut got the most of those because Connecticut, even though hitting triple doubles, hitting big numbers, it seems to be difficult because of that media attention being in New York that it doesn't get that light. And that's probably, I mean, Jangle Jones will have been looking at that when she, was making a decision where she was going to play next. And, that'll have been a big factor. Um, one question I just mentioned All Star there. All Star game. You know, for the first time in 3 years, wasn't competitive at all by any stretch of the imagination. Whereas the last couple of years have been actually really
Amazing.
competitive,
Yeah.
especially when we had the USA against the WNBA. Now next year's an Olympic year, so do we want to see USA against WNBA again, and a competitive game?
I think we definitely wanna see that again just because of the last time they played and the intensity, the energy that everyone came with, like, everyone that wasn't on that team made it clear that they came into the arena to whoop butt, and the Olympic team had to, step up and play. I would love to see that happen again. Why not? It brought a ton of energy. You got some of the best players globally, and you have other players within the league that are playing against them that what else can fans ask for? Like, when are you going to see all of these players in one place at the same time, but also still seeing the competitiveness between the two? It wasn't a blowout.
Yeah, it was a cracking game. I was a little bit disappointed this year. I mean, even if they played 10% defense, that would have been something. But
Yeah.
yeah,
What do
hopefully
you think?
next year. What do you think? Who?
What do you think contributed to? I'm asking you
Oh yeah,
from like what do you think contributed to the game not being competitive?
I think it slipped back into that. Oh yeah, we're here. We're here to have a good time and a laugh and a joke around, and let's not take this too seriously. Whereas I think the previous 2 years, like there was a bit of rivalry still around
Mhm,
after the USA WNBA game. So last year, I think was still competitive. But yeah,
mhm,
this year it just seemed to be, yeah, we're here to have a good time and like put on a show. But at the same time, I think there has to be a balance. And like I have slated the NBA All Star Weekend for years because yeah, it's great to see all these players together. But you know what? Sometimes you've got the best defensive players in the world playing in
mm,
that game. Same with the WNBA game, and they don't play defense, but they're the
mhm,
best defense. That's why they're there. They got
mhm.
picked because they're good at defense. So yeah, I just want to see it. But I
Do
think it's probably down to they're in Vegas. It's All Star. It's a busy season. It's
Yeah.
probably the only time that they're going to get off. So there is probably an element of that.
That's what I was gonna ask, the element of they're tired, 1, they do wanna enjoy themselves in Vegas and have a good time, everyone was excited about this game, and also, is there an element of, if I am a great defensive player, scorer, etcetera, do you risk an injury in All-Star
Mm.
that could take your team's possibilities away for the playoff, etcetera? Because even I know at times, there were times when I was told, "Go have fun, but don't come back hurt." And it's like, okay, okay, go have a good time, show out, but remember who you play for is not the all-star team. I wonder if some of that because you got to remember these players are many of them are still playing year round, and all-star is a break that most players get, but they don't. And I just always want to know like what people think in terms of what contributes to maybe some of the lackadaisical play where
I
they're just
think as
having fun with each other
uh,
versus competing. And
well,
it's
I
not
think as
commercial stuff. You're not getting $500,000.
well, I think as well, like there, a lot of the players mentioned that they had a busy schedule. Like it wasn't like they turned up, they did a practice, they went played a
Oh, no.
game. It
It's
was you have to be like their
mhm.
schedule through the 2 or 3 days was stacked.
Yep.
So yeah, I can kind of see when you get to that point, you get to that game, especially when you've got Liberty and Aces players, like, they're wanting to vie for the playoffs. None of them want to get injured, so,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Now, we
Okay.
mentioned it a couple of times, trade deadline coming up Monday. there is really no rumors. Like, there's really, I mean, there's probably like little rumors about like players that are on the bench or
Mhm.
players coming in on hardship contracts and stuff. But in terms of actual legitimate trades, I cannot find anything anywhere. But obviously, we mentioned Skylar Diggins-Smith
Yeah,
earlier on. I do have this feeling that
yeah.
because you see it in other professional leagues when it comes to trades, that if you get one big trade happen, then like there seems to be like a domino effect, and every team's like, oh, they just traded for that person. That's a big player.
Mhm.
Skylar Diggins-Smith is a big player now. I have to say the Mercury have devalued her by the way they've treated her, so they
No, they
probably
haven't.
won't. They
No,
probably
they
won't
haven't.
get. Yeah, but for them, because everyone knows they want rid of her, so
True, but
they've
everyone also knows her numbers. You didn't devalue her. You just iced her in terms of your organization. Do
yeah.
you really think a team doesn't want Skylar Diggins-Smith? Come on.
Oh, every team in the league. But what I'm
Yeah,
saying is that Phoenix Mercury aren't going to get as much as they could have if things were a bit more warmer in Phoenix.
exactly. So that's on them. That's why I said don't do the petty stuff. Like you shoot yourself in the foot because now when teams are negotiating to trade for her, you have allowed them to come in with lower offers. Is it gonna work? I doubt it because I mean Phoenix is a well-run organization. I think they're still gonna get what they want for her. N- Will they trade her? And where is she going? Is the question. Like, who has the space? Who? Because Skylar, I'm sure is saying where she wants to go and is talking with her agent about if they're trading me, these are the places I want to go. Where she fits in that doesn't hurt her career. At the same time, they're probably gonna trade her to the other side of the league because they don't want to play against her because she is ticked off. Like she's pretty ticked off. You do not want her on the same side of the league as you right now. So it'll be interesting. But if you had to guess, where could you see her going?
If there was money available, you would see her in Vegas. But I don't think the money's available, and I don't think you could give up anything to go get her.
And
Um,
who is she gonna replace? Like Vegas is already they got enough people. Do they need
uh,
another big personality?
at guard, yeah, I think it'd be tough because
Yeah.
guards are stacked. Vegas need a forward. We
That
need a
would
big.
yes, I agree.
So, but in terms of other teams, like
Hmm.
one team that has a chip on its shoulder is the Connecticut Sun, and I
That's what
think
I was
if she was to land in Connecticut, I think I think New York's knees would start to tremble because they'd be like, "Wow, this team was already good and challenging us. Now they've just landed Skylar.
mhm.
Ooh, this could be tough." Or she could end up at one of the upcoming teams, like Atlanta or Indiana. Like
I was gonna say
she could end
Atlanta.
up there.
Yeah. Yes. Because I don't think she will I'll say this, I don't know that she'd wanna go to Connecticut, and I don't know that she'd wanna go to Indiana. But
Bit
Atlanta?
rural.
Mm, that part. Because you gotta remember Skylar Diggins has tons of contracts and media things that are in the works as well. If you go to an Indiana, you don't have the media. If you go to Connecticut, you don't have it. But if you go to Atlanta, you do. And you're still on the other side where you're not creating issues for Phoenix on their side of the table. Atlanta, I think, is a great place for her. You got Ryan who's smoking and killing. You got a great coach in Tanisha Wright, and that organization seems to be rolling. And they've already went through that whole let's restructure the organization and set things back on the right track. It'd be a great spot for her, and it gives her everything that she wants and needs without giving up anything that Phoenix may not want to give up because that's a younger team versus putting her on the Connecticut where you might have to see her in the playoffs.
Yeah, whereas Atlanta, like, they're probably I think they're definitely in the playoffs next year, Atlanta,
Oh yeah,
like, because of the way that they've I mean, that organization has been flipped around completely,
yes,
from a couple of years ago where, yeah, they were not good on or off the court,
yeah.
whereas now, they've got all their ducks in a row and everything seems to be moving in the right direction, which is great. because I like Atlanta, and they're a nice organization and they're run well. It was just, some bad eggs, but things have moved on, and that's a good thing. I really struggle though to see any other trades
Same.
unless like Seattle. Seattle need to give Joe Lloyd some assistance because I feel like she's a bit out on an island at the moment on her own, pretty much running the whole team. Which I think when Brianna and Sue left, we kind of
Mhm.
assumed would happen.
Yeah. I just don't know if they'll put her in that same. I don't know. But I mean, I guess we'll see.
We'll see, but hopefully trade night goes without any kind of fireworks. I hope.
Well, I think
Um,
there are gonna be some fireworks around the Skylar. I really
oh
think
yeah,
something has to happen. Uh, it's just gonna be interesting as to is it a multi-team trade to get her where that'll be the interesting component. Like, how do they get her? Because they seem to have washed their hands of that situation and made it very clear, like we don't care who knows, we have nothing to do with you. So I see them getting rid of her. It's just how do they do that right now with that deadline coming up?
well, I think as well. I think her contract, if I'm right, is one of the kind of top
Mhm.
contracts. So I think as well, like that could be just double checking it just now, but I think that could be an issue. And like you say,
Yeah.
that's when like she's on 224,000. Um, and it's a 4-year contract that she has.
Yep.
So, like that's a huge contract. So it could and Atlanta that could
Atlanta
suit
can
them
afford
because
it.
they could afford it outright. But if a Connecticut Sun were to come in, they would have
Yes.
to make some other moves and adjustments. And like I said earlier, you get one big move, and then all of a sudden New York are like, oh, we need to strengthen.
Yeah.
Vegas, we need to strengthen. Well, I mean, Vegas needs to strengthen anyway.
Yeah.
But like you do, or if she does go to Atlanta, then you've got a whole array of teams like, wow, okay, this team was good already and up and coming. And yeah, they're gonna have to watch in future years because especially if she lands in Atlanta, like you say, with all the kind of media and everything else that's there, like that's really gonna suit Skylar well. So hopefully she gets the move that she wants, and we'll see what happens there. But from both of us, for the moment, thank you
Yeah.
so much for listening. Don't forget to check out Across the Pond Liberty and Across the Pond Aces. On Thursday, I had Kirsten from the New York Liberty podcast on the Aces one, where I was not being very nice about the Liberty, and that's just blown up in my face. So thanks so much for that. Uh, and we will see you back here next week.